Thank you so much. My name's Nick Coe. I'm the district director for Congresswoman Craig. She really wishes she could be here herself. She's headed back to DC right now as we speak. And after the weather we've had this week, can't really blame her.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming in for your advocacy. And mainly, I'm just here to see how we can help and here to listen and learn, and just really excited for the conversation today. So I just want to say thanks for coming in. And these look really wonderful. I'm gonna have to check with ethics to see if I can eat one.
You want to eat one? They're really good.
Well, we wanted to come in first of all to thank the Congresswoman both for sponsoring and the bill and supporting our cause. That's why we're here in our red shirts in the middle of the winter. And so that was first, but we also wanted to find out what it was that the Congresswoman needs from us, what you've been hearing from the constituency, how we can help to sort of just bolster the support and give her whatever she needs to get out there and get this passed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think that your advocacy already has been really powerful. I would just, from my end, I would keep, speaking up and talking about your issue in ways that, members of Congress are going to hear about, whether that's calling offices. You can always call our office. We love getting calls from people who say, hey, we like what you're doing. But, that could be stuff like writing letters to the editor, lots of stuff that can help get the word out that this is an issue that people care about and that kind of thing. So, I would say, we love having you here. We'd love to hear from you, by calling in. That we're here to listen to constituents, and I would just say that, we're happy to be a co-sponsor on HR 8. I've heard that there may be a vote coming up on it soon.
That's what we understand this week.
That's exciting news. I think that's the first vote on the House floor in a while for any kind of common sense gun legislation. It's been quite a while, as far as I know. So we'll keep a close eye on that, and we're excited to see we're excited about the possibility of that coming to the floor soon.
Have you been getting much pushback from constituents?
We do get calls on this issue from folks who are not supporters of Angie's position, but we're here to listen to all constituents. She has made her decision on this particular bill, as you all are aware, but that's why we love to hear from everybody. And we do compile a report each week of the call volume that we get in, and so if this is an issue that you want Angie to know people are calling in about, I'd ask your friends and neighbors and even the folks in here to call in and let us know your thoughts on this issue.
I count at least 4 of us here that are survivors of gun violence. There might be somebody else that I'm not aware of. That's 1/3 of the people in this room, and that's not even as much as it's in the general public. It's up to 44% now is the number. I quoted a wrong number last week, but it's 44% in the general public. So.
Well, what I'd love to do is just go around and have people introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about what brings them here today. What I find is that everyone's got a story for why they wind up in rooms like this, and it sounds like some of your stories are more personal than others. I just want to make sure when I talk to the Congresswoman about this meeting, I can tell her everyone who came and why folks wanted to make their voices heard on this issue. So I'd love it if we could start with you.
Well, my name's Bob Mokas, and I live here in Burnsville. And I had a sister murdered, and Angie's very well aware of the story. I did question her, posed a question at the Burnsville Town Hall. So,
thank you so much for coming.
And just, I support her fully. So, and thank her. Please thank her for
absolutely
co-sponsoring this bill also.
John Barden, my cousin's son was killed at Sandy Hook, which was mad. When Parkland happened, it was shortly thereafter I marched myself down to her office to volunteer. I thought enough was enough was enough. Spent many, many hours. I think it was me that kind of put her over the top. Let her know that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick, Nick?
Yeah.
What are you hearing from the people that call and oppose
know, I would say things run the gamut. I think there's some people, there's suspicion around any new, common sense legislation around this issue. And there are other folks who worry about being able to have firearms passed along in their family, which my understanding is
It's not an issue.
there's a carve out in HR 8. But it's, so there's, I would say it runs the gamut. There's we don't usually take the role of actively trying to correct people or anything. We're here to listen and
Sure.
talk
Sure.
and just make sure that Angie is hearing what people think. But in the calls that I'm familiar of, and we all take calls in the office that we're all aware of what's going on. That's what I've been aware of. And people, the third one I'd say is people who think that this kind of law leads to more gun violence.
More gun violence?
Yeah. So those are kind of the three buckets that I think it falls into when we hear from folks.
I misspoke when I said 44% of the people in the public know somebody. Obviously, 100% of the people in this room know somebody.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm Jill Haugen, and I'm a member of the communications lead team in Minnesota, and so my responsibility is letters to the editor. So you see our group growing, I'm hoping, and getting more letters out as we go. I joined, I think 2.5 years ago. I was sitting in my, down at Eastview High School as a parent volunteer, before they remodeled because of the gun violence issues and security. And I was just sitting at a table, and while I was sitting there with no security, no way to even see out the window who was coming, there was an attack at one of the schools.
Wow.
And I think it was in Washington State, and I just sat there and realized all I had was a walkie-talkie and some stickers. I would be the first line of defense, and so the next time I heard about moms and there was a meeting, I went. Didn't know what I was going to do about it, but I just went to find out what I could do, and
here you are.
Yeah, and now I'm a part of this group.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Kelly Campbell. I live in Mendota Heights. I have 2 children. I'm so sorry for your cousin's loss. Sandy Hook was what inspired me to join up with Mom's Demand. My daughter, I just sent her to kindergarten the fall after following Sandy Hook, and her kindergarten room was the first one right in through the front doors. And the thought that went through my mind was, if there's an attack at this school, my daughter's toast.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a thought any American citizen should ever have when they're sending their child to kindergarten. And so I've been a part of the cause since the beginning, and just very hopeful that we can get something over the line, either at a state or eventually, hopefully, at a federal level, because I think more people are on the side of common sense legislation than are opposed to it. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your story, Kelly. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Harriet Noreen. I'm from Egan, and I've been with Moms for a couple of years, but I'm mainly here just to say thank you to Angie, because it's so important. The politicians aren't stepping up, and she is, so I want to thank her. I volunteer in my grandchild's kindergarten class in Egan, and one day we had to have the usual scenario of going and hiding behind the teacher's desk and sitting quietly while they do their alert. So it's very scary.
Yeah, it's very unnerving, and it's to your point, Kelly, it's something that we shouldn't have to think about, right?
Kids shouldn't have to grow up like this. We can do something more about it.
Right. Thank you, Harriet. Please go ahead.
Hi Nick, my name is Marcy Woodruff. I'm from Rosemount, and I lost my best friend to a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and my father to senseless gun violence. And I think I've been involved with Moms for a couple of years once I had a little bit more time on my hands and could find an organization that was positive. And I appreciate Angie's, really appreciate her support in this area. It's so critically important. You never, at least I never really thought, gun violence happens to somebody else.
Right.
And when it happens to you, it's not that you think, oh, now I'm gonna care about it. It does pierce you in a way that you realize also how bad it is for our society that we've accepted this, that we seem to have accepted this as normal, and it's not normal. So I appreciate everything she's doing.
Well, thank you, Marcy. I'm so sorry for the losses that you've experienced on
Thank
this
you.
issue. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Carlson, and I also want to really thank Angie for everything she's doing, and was so thrilled when she won. But I joined Moms about 4 years ago, just before the 2nd anniversary of Sandy Hook, and I think I just got tired of just being online saying things and hearing everybody say something needs to be done, and why do we just keep letting this happen, and yet I wasn't really actively doing anything to help, so I joined Moms, and here I am.
Great. Thanks so much, Gretchen. Appreciate it. Erin?
I'm Karen Gallagher.
Starting to video you.
No, I don't need to be on camera. This is the luxury of this. I joined Moms probably over 2 years ago. I'm a retired teacher, so the trauma for both teachers and students every time there's a lockdown drill. I had a lot of students that had a lot of gun violence around them, so just the act of going through the lockdown, they took it real seriously, and I was real serious about coming between them and a shooter if that would happen. But I also had my best friend lost somebody she loved to suicide by gun, and I have a friend who couldn't be in touch with another relative because she was afraid of a relative that was a caretaker that had guns. And so that's why all of these laws are so important to me, and I so appreciate Angie supporting HR 8.
Thanks for sharing your story, Karen. Please go ahead.
I'm Christina Broker, and I joined last August, and I kind of jumped right in, and I am now co-data lead in internal communications for Minnesota Moms. But I guess I think my turning point was Parkland. I have 2 children at Egan High School, and it just, because I'm generally an introvert, and with everything going on, I'm like, okay, I need to step out of my comfort zone in order to get things done, because, it's just insane. I know there was a situation at Egan High School, a kid who was going to bring a gun, and my kids were upset, and luckily I volunteer at the high school, so I was able to get the background information on what was actually going on, but rumors spread, and kids don't want to go to school, and kids shouldn't have to worry about anything but being students and learning, and not having to do lockdown, especially in kindergarten and stuff like that. So so I am stepping out of my comfort zone to hopefully help with whatever I can do. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how many introverts wind up doing this kind of thing, but thank you for sharing your story, Christine. I appreciate it. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jan Newts, and I live in Inver Grove Heights. I lost a brother to suicide by gun back in 1967, and I know the tragic devastation for a family and how long lasting those effects are. Also, I have 2 little grandchildren that are just kindergarten and 1st grade. So Sandy Hook has always affected me deeply. But it was Parkland, really, and seeing those young people step forward and get so very actively involved that pushed me. And I thought, this is finally the time for me to get involved so that I can honor my brother and my parents after my brother's death. And also hopefully protect those precious children, not only mine, but all children that want to feel safe wherever they go today. And thank you to Angie very much. We're just so thrilled that she won, and I know that many in their group, were working to get her into office, and are thrilled that she made it and is going to be on our side.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Jane. I appreciate it.
I'm Bob Ragnell with Prior Lake, and I'm semi-retired, but I'm former military, and I'm a little different.
What branch?
Air Force.
Okay.
Vietnam era, of course. But and I guess I grew up in rural Minnesota though, and I grew up with guns. Obviously, hunting is big in that, and I have on a gun over also from a military background, and my dad was military too, obviously. We know the responsibility of the guns,
Right.
you know, and securing your guns and weapons and stuff like that. And like a lot of people, I was inspired by the kids. In fact, I was down there at the Capitol when they marched. And I was standing out to the side, and there was a lot of us grandparents there. And we were talking and stuff, and we said we're gonna have those kids back, so that's why I got involved. But a recent story, I know it on the right cause here, is my granddaughter, who's just turned 18 and stuff, for a part-time job, she was delivering pizzas up after Christmas, you know. And she got held up by gunpoint by some kid that was not much older than her. She was just, you know, delivering pizza. Of course, she quit that day. It scared the heck out of her, but
Yeah, I
I
can't
just think,
imagine.
what's this world coming to when you can't even, you know, deliver the pizzas and stuff, so. My son and I were worried about her being sexually assaulted, and there she got, you know, held up by gunpoint, so that's why I'm here.
Great.
And I thank Angie too, and I definitely supported her in the last election.
Well, thanks, Bob, and thank you everyone for sharing your stories. You know, like I said, we're you know, proud to be, or Angie's proud to be a co-sponsor of HR 8, and I'm, you know, here to listen, learn how else we can help, and also assure you that there'll always be open lines of communication here. If you ever want to come in and chat, you can just stop by, and we'll be able to make time for you. But certainly do appreciate you making an appointment today. I will say that. But yeah, I really appreciate hearing these stories. I will definitely pass along the thanks to Angie, and I know she appreciates you all having her back on this issue. Other than that, I'm all ears about other ways that we can be helpful or other things that's on your mind right now.
We're pretty focused today.
Yeah.
We're focused today on the background checks, getting through both the House, and then we're ready to go for the Senate. We are also focused on red flag law here in Minnesota as well. So obviously something like that in the future would be lovely. But other than that, we're just focused.
That'll be our next bit.
Yeah, exactly. At the very
We'll
moment,
be
maybe.
back.
At the very moment.
Great.
It's our focus here in the state, and those two bills are our focus here in the state right now. And
Okay.
and it would be wonderful if we could get federal laws that where we wouldn't have to deal with that in the state any longer.
Right.
Just
And it is-
override it and move on.
I think it's a nice commentary that all these people take time out of their lives on a work day to come here
Exactly.
and visit, so.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully the personal stories will be useful to the Congresswoman.
Absolutely. And every meeting that we have in the office here, we write a report up on, and Angie sees all of those. So you can rest assured that Angie will hear these stories and hear the thanks. And I saw her just a couple days ago, and she knew that the meeting was happening today, and she was really glad to hear that you all were coming in.
Well, it's particularly helpful that she's a gun owner.
Yes.
And because that's one of the groups that we're trying to reach out to veterans, we're trying to reach out to sportsmen and hunters, and let them know that we respect their the right to not only own them but to use them, and we just really want to work with them, particularly because they know how to use them.
Right.
They understand the safety that's involved and the respect. So
Right.
yeah, anytime that can be mentioned, that's
Yeah.
always
Right.
good too.
Yeah, you know, I think, I'm not sure, we just had town hall this past weekend. I'm not sure that we had a gun violence prevention question at this one.
Okay.
But I do know that, you know, Bob, you asked one back at the first town hall, and I think she did mention that. And it is, you know, it's something that is a part of her life that she does, and it's not something that we always tweet about or anything. She just does it because she enjoys it.
Well, I wanted to get in front of some gun guy coming out and saying something.
Right.
I wanted to set the stage for her.
Got it.
Wonderful. Does
Well-
anyone have any other questions or concerns?
One question, I guess, just from legislative process. Let's say we get a vote in the House, let's say it passes, then how, there's not a lot of votes that go up in the Senate that we want. Is there, what's the path to getting us actually up for a vote in the Senate?
That's a great question. I think that our senators here in Minnesota would need all the support they can get to get this up for a vote. And I think it's just going to be a matter of the majority leader wanting to take this up, and I think for that he would need to feel some pressure from like some folks in his own party. And that's just my 2 cents worth of.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if the House passes it, doesn't the Senate have to take it up?
No.
No? Because they're dealing with that issue right now with the
Resolution.
Yeah, there's
this
certain things
resolution
they
to get
do,
rid of,
but
Trump
not this
spending.
one.
Yeah.
So there's an 18-day.
I think that's specific to the national emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert of the legislative process, but I do know that I think that there will need to be some advocacy there for that to happen. And
So our next stop is Klobuchar's office in
Yes.
Smithfield.
Right.
I have no doubt that
I'm
you
not
all are ready
worried
to
about
provide the
him
advocacy
or
piece of
President
things.
Trump. Yes.
So
I
that's
should
my
be
sense.
hearing